Hi, book besties. Welcome to Book Covered. I'm Yahaira, and Book Covered is essentially a space where I am going to be covering a book and taking inspiration from the book cover to do my makeup. I'm half of the Book Fix podcast, by the way, if you want more book reviews. Oh my God, I just finished this story this morning and it was insanity. I think that if you're into a whodunit, this one is definitely the one for you. And there is no way that I'm going to be able to cover every angle that this story went into because at the end of the day, everyone is a suspect, right? So here's the book cover. It looks like there's a lot of white, like a blue gray vibe. To make this easier on the both of us, I am going to be posting pictures of each character. I found these actors on, I think it's called MyCast. They were fan casted. So overall what the story is about, it's about just a bunch of people trying to survive the winter because they were going to go to a lodge and got stranded in the snow. And one by one, they are being brutally offed. So, mystery, who did it? If you're interested, go read it because I'm about to give you major spoilers. I'm going to spoil this whole book for you. The story starts off with our main character named Christa. Christa is heading to a place called Blackstone Alpine Lodge, and she's going with her boyfriend who she loves so much. She describes him to be the nicest man she has ever met. He is so patient with her because she is going through a lot. She is somebody who suffers from, she has trauma, basically. So there is an event that happened on August 8th, 2 years ago, that she references a lot. And she says that her boyfriend, Kiernan, is somebody who really showed her love when she didn't think she deserved anything, right? Big mystery around August 8th. So they are on a bus. Christa lets us know that the lodge is supposed to be closed during this time because it's the winter time and, there's just a lot of snowstorms. But somehow they managed to get a private tour. And on this bus, they're not the only ones traveling to the lodge. There is this older couple there. Steve is a trucker. His wife, Mary. There's not much to Mary, but there is a moment when Mary looks at Christa and tells her, "You have a certain face. You know, that face that you think that you've seen before, or just like a familiar face, right?" And Krista's like, "Thank you." So Kiernan is someone who is more social than Christa. So he is very polite. He's talking to the trucker Steve and his wife Mary. And they're just kind of like talking about how so excited to get away. Steve is a hunter. He is a fisherman. Christa also notices this very quiet woman in the bus. And her name is Alexis. She is young. And she is alone. She is just very reserved to herself. And there's another man, his name is Hutch, who I believe is sitting in front of Christa. He's a DJ, and I think he's there to scope out the lodge for a wedding or something. I don't know. I know that it isn't revealed yet at this time, but I just feel like I need to let you know a little bit about these characters because at the beginning of the story, I was so confused. Another person is the tour guide, Brian. Now, Brian is very peppy. He's very excited. He's telling everyone, the lodge is closed during this time. So you guys are very lucky, very special to be getting a private tour and a private stay during this time. So the bus stalls and everyone gets out and basically Brian tells them it won't take too long to fix the bus, right? So Kiernan, which is Krista's boyfriend, he grew up going to this place with his family. So he's very familiar with the area and he's like, "Hey, I really want to show you this really beautiful spot." Now, Christa is very excited because Kiernan's been acting a little nervous, very excited, and she's thinking that he's going to pop the question. Even though they've only been together for 4 months, their relationship has been really stable, really healthy, and she thinks that perhaps he might propose to her. The snowstorm is basically derailing Christa and Kiernan, and they do get lost, and he is like, don't worry, I think there's something over here. I think we're getting close to the lodge. They just spent too much time in the snow because now Christa's over here not able to feel her hand, her fingers. And there is a moment when neither one of them notice that there is a cliff. And so she falls and gets buried in snow. She is derailed now, and basically they get separated, and she ends up being found by the group, by the people in the bus, the tour people. And they were staying at an abandoned cabin. Well, not abandoned. They just didn't know where the owners were at. Okay, so I think this is a good time for me to explain everybody, right? So there is Christa, our main character. Kiernan is her boyfriend who is not in the cabin. Steve is the trucker. Miri is Steve's wife, and they're both the older couple. Brian is the tour guide. Blake is an older woman who always complains about her back, and she was a 911 dispatcher. And then there's Denny, who is a mechanic. He is a tall, muscular man, and he is there with his teenage son named Grayson, who seems like he doesn't want to be there. There is Simone, who was in the army. She's the one who, anytime there is someone who is injured, she's the one who tends to them. She is definitely the one who is very headstrong. Didn't give off the best first impression because when everyone was introducing themselves, she just said her name and everyone else was like telling people more about themselves. And she was just like, Simone, that's it. Don't look to me. There's Hutch, who is the DJ. And then our last character is Alexis, who is the shy, timid, young woman. And so in total, that's 11 people? So when Christa comes back from being knocked out, she realizes that her boyfriend Kiernan is not actually in the cabin. She confused Brian, the tour guide, with Kiernan because they have like similarities to their features. And so she is frantic. She's just like, I need to find my boyfriend. I need to find him. But nobody wants to go back into the snow because it's cold. It's cold out there. They explained to her that they were looking for him. Brian, the tour guide, was searching for them. He was the one that found her. And he was like, I'm sorry, I don't think we're going to be able to find him. We've been searching. And she's just like, no, I need to go out there and find my man. And so they go back out there. I believe it's just her, Brian, and I think Hutch. I don't remember. It's just like 3 of them basically. And they go out there. They don't find him. And so Brian, back in the cabin, Brian tells everyone, okay, I found a phone. I called people. I told them, hey, we need help. So then the group starts looking around. They realize that this cabin had owners, but Brian explains to them, oh, it's not uncommon for people to leave their cabins unlocked, just in case somebody needs shelter. Christa notices that Brian is, seeming a little nervous, I think because, he was in charge here. Basically, he's looking over to make sure that everybody signed a paper saying that he is not at fault if something goes wrong. And thank God everyone signed. Whew, Brian is chilling. But then the next day, Brian is no longer chilling. Oh my God. This story is crazy and gruesome. I don't think I'm going to give you all of the gory details for a lot of them, but I do need to explain Brian because a lot of the other deaths mirror how Brian looks, okay? So they find Brian's head, I believe, nailed to a tree. And after this, they realize Brian never called for help because the phone or the radio that was inside is actually not working. It's not working. So he is a liar and everyone starts panicking. Now, at first, they think, oh my God, maybe it's the owners of the cabin who did this and they're angry or something. Maybe we stumbled into a serial killer's cabin. That's what they think at first. But then Christa finds teeth in a row by the window. I don't know. And she takes this as a threat, but at the same time, she is also thinking to herself that this is karma for what occurred on August 8th. So on August 8th, Christa kind of sort of maybe caused an accident to happen because she was driving one winter night and there was somebody who was driving recklessly and she kind of blocked them or she didn't let them pass or something like that. They ended up driving off a cliff, this other car. And she knows that this man did not survive the crash. And so she has always felt very guilty about this. And so now she feels like maybe this is what she deserves to happen. So when Brian is now gone, the tour guide, remember, Simone definitely takes over as the leader of the group. She was the one that was in the army. And she is kind of like telling everyone, okay, here's how we need to make sure that we survive this. A group of them decide that they're going to go outside of the cabin and try to see if they can find any help, right? Because there's no signals. Yes, some of them may have their phones, but there's no signal at this place, so it's not like they can call for help. Christa decides to join this group because she believes maybe she'll find Kiernan. And as they're walking around in the snow, guess what they find? You're never gonna guess it. I'm gonna be so honest with you guys. Anytime I read a horror, thriller, murder, mystery, I always assume it's the boyfriend. Because I feel like it always is the boyfriend, right? But this is probably the worst time to go. If you're so familiar with this place, why would you bring her here? That's what I was thinking while I was reading this, right? So, imagine my shock when they find Kiernan's body. But he was headless. So, of course, Christa is mourning. She's crying. She looks at Kiernan's hands and they were disfigured. So she believes that maybe Kiernan put up a fight or something. I don't know. She starts remembering that Kiernan was acting a little weird. So she looks through his pockets and finds a ring. Yep. And she is crying. Simone is like, girl, we need to get out of here because it's too cold for us to handle staying out here much longer. So then they go back to the cabin and so much happens. Okay, look, the suspect bounces between every single character and I thought it was hilarious that I was thinking the same as to the direction that the book was going. For example, so at first I thought it was Kiernan, then he's dead. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's, you know what, I don't trust Blake and her bad back. Maybe it's Blake. There's no way that I can get through every single reason as to why everyone was a suspect, but I will say that for a while there, you think maybe it's Denny who is the mechanic and the father to Grayson. But then Grayson is gone as well, and Denny is mourning, but Alexis, who has been quiet this whole time, confides in Christa, our main character, and she tells her, hey, Grayson had told me that he thought maybe his dad was the killer because he suspected that his dad was the one that offed his mom. His mom was dead. And the reason why he suspects this is because his dad is a mechanic, right? Well, the way that the mom died was that she drove a car. They had two cars. And the one that she normally drove, Danny, the mechanic, told her, hey, let's switch cars today. And so they switched cars and her brakes were cut or something was wrong with it, to which she ended up getting into a car accident. So that's why Grayson suspected his dad to be the killer. Now, the reason why Alexis confides in Christa is because she determines, Christa, I don't think it's you because you have frostbite in your left hand, in your fingers. And so holding up an axe, which they do find an axe in like the shed, there's no way that you would be able to lift up the axe and off everybody else. And so she tells her that the reason why she is even here in the first place is because she thinks that the killer who offed her sister, Alexis's sister, is amongst the group. Now, Alexis has been on the hunt for the killer to her sister for a while. And she even has a blog about it, about how the killer staged her sister to have committed her own killing. She believes that the killer staged that for her sister and made a blog about it, right? And because it gained so much attention, this blog, the killer sent Alexis an invitation and a ticket to this excursion, this tour. So she thinks that the killer is in the group. And then guess what? They also find 2 other bodies that they determined belonged to the couple that owned the cabin. So now for sure the killer is in the group. And everyone is just losing their minds, trying to figure out who it was. And Alexis, the timid girl who was on the hunt for this killer, reveals to Christa that she has been documenting everybody's movements this entire time. She has a journal to which she gave like a different icon to every different person. For example, Steve's icon was a little fish because he's a fisherman, right? Okay. Hutch has a little disc because he's a DJ. So Christa finds this journal because guess what? Poor Alexis was attacked. She was attacked. And she's not dead, but she's basically like immobile. She's unable to move, unable to speak. And so now, keep up. There's a lot of characters. Christa, main character. She's still alive. Dennis, mechanic, still alive. Grayson, his son, gone. Steve, the fisherman, hunter, trucker, still alive. Miri, his wife, gone. Alexis is still alive, but she's immobile, so it's like, I don't really want to count her because it's like, okay, she's not a suspect, right? Simone, the army person, still alive. Hutch, DJ, still alive. So there's 5 of them, I believe, at this point. And one of them, Blake. Did I say Blake already? I don't know. So at this point, they kind of reveal, man, maybe this is karma for what happened on August 8th. And Christa's like, wait a minute. Wait, what? What happened August 8th? Steve was the one who mentions that he witnessed an accident on August 8th. And they talk about this. And also Hutch, the DJ, says, oh my God, I was there too, because he was the one who tried to save the young man who drowned. Remember the young man who like went off the road, went off the cliff? I don't know. And then he ended up in a lake and he drowned. So his name was Liam. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute, if they're all connected, then they should know who the killer is, right? Well, Christa asks them, so does the name Liam, which is the person who drowned, does the name Liam mean anything to anybody? And nobody, they were all kind of like, no, it doesn't. So it kind of ends there. Well, then afterwards, Christa witnesses Simone attack Steve, the fisherman, Simone, the army girl, Steve, the fisherman, and it's brutal, okay? She witnesses Simone off this man in the snow. And they tie up Simone, put her in the shed, and they're all kind of just like, whew, we caught the butcher, right? Well, listen, if you read this book, or if you've read this book, maybe you agree with me. I feel like Christa, our main character, is not the brightest. And listen, I don't blame her. I might not be the brightest either in this sort of situation, because she knew that Simone had found Alexis's journal where she jotted down everyone's movements during this whole time, right? So you would think that she would realize maybe she found something in this journal. Christa didn't have the opportunity to really go through the journal in its entirety because she didn't want people to find it, but then it was gone from her possession. Like somebody stole it and she didn't know that it was Simone. So Simone offs Steve, the fisherman, and they put her in the shed. They're all in the cabin except Simone. She tells the group, I think I'm going to try to go to the lodge to see if I can get any help or find signal, because even though it's been days, somehow she still has like 14% battery on her phone. That's insane. What is her phone? I want to know. So the group is like, okay, sure, if you want to go to the lodge, go ahead. But she tells them, you know what, I'm going to go outside for a little bit just to get some fresh air. So she goes out. She goes into the shed. She's just like, you know what, I'm going to confront Simone and I'm going to ask her, why? You know exactly what Christa finds in that shed. I know you do. I know you do. If you've been keeping up, you know. She goes in there and finds Simone's body. Head is gone, okay? So she's freaking out because she's like, the killer's in the cabin. But then she hears footsteps approaching and she hides because she is convinced that the killer is looking for her because she's alone, she's helpless, she's vulnerable. When she hears that the footsteps go away, she runs back to the cabin and she finds Hutch's body. He's slumped against the wall, covered in blood. He is still alive. He's bleeding from his chest, and he tells Christa to run. Instead of saying like, what happened, or, you know, whatever, he just says run, and she does. She runs. And she's just like, I knew it. I knew it was Denny. I knew I couldn't trust that mechanic. Because, you know what? He didn't mourn his son that bad when they found his body. Like, he mourned him, but not as much as you would think that he should have mourned him. So Christa runs out of the cabin and into the snow while Denny, the mechanic, is holding the axe and chasing after her. And Christa finds Blake, the 911 dispatcher. She finds Blake's body, and Blake is positioned in a way where it looks like she's pointing towards a direction, and she's just like, oh my god, the lodge is that way. Weird. So she goes and she runs. She's running away from Denny, the mechanic, who is chasing after her. Then she ends up finding the lodge. The door is unlocked. That's crazy because she was thinking, okay, how am I going to break in? Nope, it's unlocked. So then she runs in. I thought it was weird because there was nobody at the lodge. Red flag. You guys knew that there was people coming. So then Christa finds the blueprints or the layout or the map. I don't remember exactly, but she manages to find a way to move around the lodge inside. So then she finds a way to turn on the backup generator, and because it's on now, she has bars in her phone. Crazy moment. And she, by the way, this whole time while she was doing this, she hears Denny outside with the axe trying to break in. So she knows that Denny is inside at this point because no sound is heard. Very scary. And she calls 911 and she's just like, so she is telling the 911 dispatcher everything, the whole story, just in case she doesn't make it. Because she's like, at least, I just want you guys to at least find my body. Like, damn. And the 911 dispatcher is like, don't worry, ma'am, help is on the way. Through a helicopter, though, because of the snow. And so she hears Denny getting closer and closer. She hears the axe dragging against the ground. She's just like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. And guess what? At this point, I'm sure most of you already guessed. Denny's head comes rolling down the stairs. And Kiernan is standing there, smiling sweetly, always looks so sweet. And I don't know why, but Christa, I've said this before, I'll say it again, not the brightest. It's okay. It's okay, girl. If I was scared, I would probably, actually, I don't know how I would react at this point. But she runs to Kiernan's arms. She's just like, oh my God, you're alive. And Kiernan hugs her, kisses her head, being so sweet and so nice the way that he always is. Well, long story short, Liam was Kiernan's little brother. And he planned this whole elaborate revenge because, listen, it started to feel like Saw, the movie. Because somehow Kiernan knew every person that was involved in this wreck that his brother was in. He was like, yeah, this other person witnessed it and they didn't do anything about it. And I found them and I offed them. So let me read you this part. He tells her, I spent most of a year planning and preparing. I sold my family's home. A lot of that went to my mother's care because after the death of his brother, Liam, his father himself, and his mother went through a depressive moment. So now she's like in care, basically. You know, his mom is a shell of what she once was because of the grief. And he says, a lot went to my mother's care, but the rest I hired Brian's company and rented Blackstone Lodge for a private tour. And then I passed the tickets out to those that were on my list. She says, Steve and Mary. To which Kiernan responds, the truck that cornered Liam and gave him nowhere else to go. Then Denny, the mechanic who serviced the truck and failed to notice the issues with the emergency brakes. So Danny, the mechanic, serviced the truck that Steve was driving because I guess his brakes malfunctioned or something. Hutch was at the scene but gave up before reaching the water. Blake, the 911 dispatcher who hung up on my brother. Simone, the emergency responder who took her time pulling his car out of the river. And Alexis, the sister whose investigations had been a thorn in my side for months. Brian, I say, Grayson? That's Christa saying. Unavoidable collateral damage. I needed Brian to make the trip convincing and to transport us here. But his knowledge of the area was too much of a liability after that. And Denny wouldn't have come without Grayson. So Krista's like, wait, you knew all along that I was involved in your brother's death. Oh, Chrissy, yes, you were my largest target, my most important one. You were the car that drove Liam off of the road, but you were also the trickiest. I wanted you here. I needed you to hurt, but I knew you wouldn't take a spontaneous trip into the mountains, even if you were gifted the tickets. The only thing that would make you go was something personal, an invitation from someone important in your life. I followed you for a long time. I knew your routine, your interests. That's how we met. At the library, remember? I asked for your help with some fictional coursework, then paid for coffee while you explained the answer to me. It was easy from there. I decided I could be the perfect partner for 6 months, and I was, wasn't I? I was everything you wanted, everything you needed. You barely even hesitated when I asked you to visit the mountains where I grew up. So she's just shocked. He's like, I wanted you to feel it. I wanted you to feel the same pain I felt while listening to my brother drown. I guess they had been on the phone together. I wanted to pass that on to you as wholly as I could. Did you find the teeth on the windsill? Did you think they were mine? She nods. Those were from the Kennedys, the ones who owned the cabin and he offed. So then he's like, oh, but did you find the ring? Did you find the ring? And she's just like, she pulls out the ring. So Kiernan is so excited because she found the ring and he was like, oh my God, she really thought I was going to propose? So then she brings up, wait, but Simone killed Steve. And he was like, yeah, I got lucky, huh? Because He knew that chaos was going to happen because everyone would start looking at each other. You know? Oh, and then the body that they found that she thought was Kiernan was actually Brian's body, the tour guide, because they looked very similar to each other. They had like a similar build. He just put his own clothes on Brian's body. The reason why Simone offed Steve was because Alexis, in her journal, believed that it was Steve who was offing them because he would just act suspicious, but that was just him, unfortunately. Sad. Kiernan explains other things, like, other people that knew that they were coming. He had actually called and canceled the whole trip on behalf of Brian because he stole Brian's phone after offing him, and just let people know, never mind, the trip is canceled. So then after this reveal, Christa looks at Kiernan and is like, so then you're gonna kill me, right? And he's like, duh, but I mean, I will say, I did grow kind of fond of you. I mean, I noticed that you did feel this remorse for the accident on August 8th. I knew it because you refuse to drive at night. You don't drive if there's snow. I knew that you were going through this like remorse over it. So I mean, I don't know. Like he was kind of like, I am kind of willing to let you live because I know you felt bad about it, unlike everybody else. And he did feel like, okay, you do feel remorseful about it, so go ahead, beg for me to forgive you, and maybe I'll let you come with me to my escape to Canada. She begs for him to let her live, and he's like, okay, Chrissy, you can live because I'm such a nice guy. And so he bends down to kiss her. And at this moment, she realizes that she still has Alexis's pocket knife in her pocket. And so she pulls out this pocket knife, and as Kiernan closes his eyes to kiss her, she stabs him. Oh my God, it was crazy. She stabbed him right in the chest. And he's just like, how could you? So then they tussle, and then she manages to hurt him up more. And he falls, gone. And as she gets up and starts staggering, she walks out of the lodge bloodied and hears a helicopter. So therefore, she was saved, and she is hopeful that Hutch and Alexis will also pull through from their injuries. Will also pull through despite their injuries. And yeah, the end. What a crazy story. And I don't even think I ever even said the title of the book because I was so into it. The title is Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates, and it was insanity. Darcy, I knew though. I knew it was the boyfriend, because why would he take her on this really dangerous time to this lodge? I don't care how nice it is. It's still a dangerous time to go, and if he really loved her, he would not have taken her. So that concludes the story, and honestly, crazy from start to finish. I could not stop listening to it. It was really fun. I could really see this as a movie, which, by the way, when I looked up this book to look up at the book cover, to remind myself what colors were on the book cover, I saw that there was a movie that just released called Dead of Winter, but it's not based on the book. So I will probably be watching that movie as well, because I really like this idea, or this horror or mysteries in this way, where it's like everyone is just in one location and you're trying to figure out who done it. Oh, by the way, Kiernan was hiding at the lodge this whole time. So he would go from the lodge to the cabin. His original plan was for everyone to be at the lodge, and then he would be offing them there, and he would be hiding at the cabin. But because the bus broke down, lucky coincidence, he had to do it backwards. So everyone would be at the cabin and he would be at the lodge. Crazy story. And I just feel bad for Christa. I mean, Chrissy did feel remorseful. She felt bad. And again, like, this whole situation really felt like Saw. Like, it felt like, how did he know everyone that was involved? Because he offed more people that were around the scene and didn't do anything to help his brother Liam. I don't think I said it already, but Alexis's sister was actually dating Liam, and they had broken up and got into a heated argument, and that's why he was driving recklessly or driving too fast, and that's why he blamed the sisters, Alexis's sister as well. Craziness. And I will say that even though I did initially believe that it was Kiernan, after the body was found, I did kind of think like, where's his head? But whatever. After the body was found, I was looking at other people. I did suspect Steve, the fisherman, as well, because people were saying he doesn't seem that sad that his wife is dead. I don't know. And I also thought maybe it was Blake, the 911 dispatcher, because I don't know. I just thought maybe she's lying about her bad back. I mean, I don't know. And then I did think it was Denny as well. Oh, and Denny's wife dying in that car accident, it was actually supposed to be Denny who died in that car accident, not the wife. It just, sadly, it just happened that the wife took the car that day. I don't know. It's just really sad. And so, yeah, that concludes the story. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about my makeup. I do think that it looks a little messy, but hey, from far away, if you're far away, I think it looks probably good, right? I don't know. You let me know. Thank you again. And if you're interested in more book reviews, please check out the Book Fix podcast where I host it with my best friend, Chelly. I promise you a couple laughs, a couple giggles.